A brick. A brick through my motherfucking window, you son of a bitch. You son of a bitch. The first story in this book ends with Romani Archiman hugging Mash and Master, knowing that he's gonna die. Knowing the back cover of this book is him waving goodbye. You actual sadistic fuck. I cried. I cried over the first story in this book.
That first story is why we hadn't done this up to this point, even though it was fully localized, and I picked it up and did a full solo review a while ago on this one.
I hate you.
Because like I wasn't dropping that before you read Solomon.
I hate you so much.
And your reaction to Solomon was like, oh, I need to prioritize getting this on the schedule.
I hate you so much. Oh my God. And also, I'd like us to not gloss over the fact that like, while the first story with Romani is definitely the one that's the most emotional for me, right? Every single one of these fucking stories is like a brick through your emotional window. Every single one of them. Nick Nack, I don't read manga for it to do the same thing to me that the fan fictions I pick do to me. This is why I read fan fiction, right?
Well,
That's where I get things that make me cry.
these
I
are
don't
basically official like fan fiction one shots for FGO and a little bit outside
uh,
of FGO.
yeah, I got that. I got that a little bit. Is bullshit. Is bullshit. This one. This one hurt. This one hurt. Not to say that they didn't all hurt, but that one hurt especially.
I love the one about Okito where she comes to terms with the fact that she died alone.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that. That's fantastic. Truly. Truly. You know, after all those fun interactions she has with other characters, and then you did that to me.
Look, I knew the Romani one would get you. I didn't know how much the other ones get you.
I think the only one that didn't make me viscerally upset was the Artoria chapter.
I thought that one would make you viscerally upset for a different reason.
Because there were so many Artorias. Yeah, yeah.
Then they did it again with Jean.
Yeah, but Jean was worse because I just finished Shinjuku. Like,
I love the
your
Artori.
timing was impeccable because I didn't, even though you gave this to me before I finished Shinjuku, I didn't read it till after I finished Shinjuku.
You haven't fully finished Shinjuku yet, have you? Still have
No, I
one more.
haven't. I haven't. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I
You
got
finished
through.
Jean's arc in Shinjuku more or
Yeah,
less.
exactly.
But I love the Artoria chapter for one reason and one reason alone. Because like they're like there are so many Artorias, and I just look at it, I'm like,
It's
oh,
so out of
cute. You
date.
think that's so many Artorias?
That was also the thought I had was that genuinely I was like, there aren't enough Artorias here. Like there should be at least six more, I'm pretty sure. Like a minimum.
Yeah, this
Because
came out like this actually came out around like in Japan around the point you're at in the story right now. This would have come out in Epic around it, I'm pretty sure.
because right now we only in this one they only show us Saber Lily, Artoria Alter, and our MHX, like the original MHX, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah, so MHX Alter isn't there, MHXX isn't there, Artoria Lancer and Lancer Alter aren't there, Artoria Ruler isn't there, Swimsuit Artoria isn't there?
But Swimsuit Artoria is supposed to be Saber Artoria just in
Yeah,
summer, so
yeah. Am I missing any Artorias? Oh, well, Arthur isn't there.
Castoria.
Castoria isn't there. Yeah, there's a lot of Artorias missing.
And then they needed to give cameos to Nero and Okita just because they have Artoria faces, even if they're not Artoria.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it was nice seeing Cha-Cha.
Yeah, yeah. You know what's funny about that the Okita chapter that Cha-Cha appears in is that event has had enough like interludes that reference back to it that the if you were to like grab various like different like um Shinsengumi members and their manga one shots and smash them together, you almost have a full adaptation of that fucking event.
Yeah.
It's
I
a little
kind of
bit funny.
yeah, I kind of love that. It's great. Oh my God. This
So,
is this is the equivalent of like I swear to God, I've had a series of videos show up on my TikTok feed lately that have been using Alex Warren's Eternity, right? Great song, came out just a couple of like a month or so ago. But it's a really sad song about losing people, and I've had people making ace edits to that song and then they show up on my fucking TikTok feed. I'm like, ah, the brick through my emotional stability window is broken.
so which do you think was your favorite of the one shots? If you say Romani, I want your second favorite too.
Okay, so then I need to give you a second favorite.
Yeah.
Jean.
Okay,
I think
okay.
Jean was my second favorite. And I think there's definitely some recency bias in that from just having finished her story in Shinjuku. And her story in Shinjuku was really well done, and I liked her interactions with Saber Alter. Which just made for like an enjoyable way to experience her as a character.
Hmm.
Um, so definitely Jean for me, especially because I think Jean was the character that because remember, I didn't really play through Orleans originally properly. And so like I think I have the least exposure to like Jean as a character until Shinjuku in terms of actually like sitting down, paying attention and listening up. Um, but I really liked the Jean chapter despite the fact that it made me viscerally upset. Romani was obviously my favorite and also the one that made me the most upset. There's a correlation.
Yeah. Like I knew the Romani one was gonna get you. Oh, I didn't even hang up on that spam call. It hung up on itself.
Beautiful. As
Um,
God intended.
yeah, I knew that Romani chapter was going to fuck you up a little bit.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
fucked me up a little bit too. Like I was outside of Barnes and Nobles after having bought that fresh. We were hanging out and you happened to had to go to do something and I was or you were hadn't arrived yet and I was just walking around Barnes and Nobles like, oh shit, this released in the West? Well, buy it. And then I sat outside of Barnes and Nobles and started crying one chapter in.
Jesus. Yeah. That was just mean. That was mean. You but like just, the end of FGO part 1 was mean. This was mean. It's even mean every time Mash is the one who shows up on my FGO screen instead of Romani. I hate this. I hate what you've done to me. We started this series as a joke. We started Seki Reacts as a joke. I started playing FGO as a joke. What have you
Actually, though,
done to me?
I got you to start playing FGO because I wanted to show you how bad Septum was.
What have you done to me? I think I'm a fan now. Like, just in general. I will say they are all very well written. Is each one of them written by a different author?
Pretty sure.
Okay, I
Certainly feels
wasn't.
that way, and I think if you look at the back, there's probably credits for them,
uh,
or at the end of, at beginning or end of each of the chapters, maybe.
yeah, let me. Oh, okay. Okay. God, let me pop to the end of one of these so I can. I don't. because I see like a special thanks at the end for like everyone involved from the editor. And
Hmm.
there's a list of publications that these short stories all originally appeared in because they weren't originally gathered as the
Hmm.
scrapbook. Um, but I don't see individual author attributions.
Okay, they need to do this again. They've released like every anniversary they released a set of one-shot manga, and I don't think they've compiled them like this again since this book. They've done a sort of a book that's kind of like this called From Lost Belt, which just follows all the cryptors
Yeah.
and like is that kind of like a Lost Belt version of this, where it's a bunch of one shots that like make you emotional about specific characters. But they haven't done like the straight up one shot collections compiled into a scrapbook.
Well, hold on a second, because so the way that this book is credited is art by Nakatani, story by Type Moon. And I understand that Type Moon is the conglomeration of like all the authors that work under
Hmm.
this media project. But all the art is exactly the same. So the art's all done by the same person for this volume. So, I mean, in theory, technically that does mean that one person at least did all of them on the art.
Yeah, it's the story where different authors were contributing.
Yeah. So the art's all done by Nakatani.
If they didn't credit the authors, it could be because they stopped crediting. No, but this is in 1 point. They still credited the authors in 1.5. Type Moon had to stop crediting the authors because a few authors got excessive amounts of like hate, borderline harassment online for some of the weaker chapters.
Well, okay, at the end of the book it says, "Thank you very much for picking up this book. I had the opportunity to draw lots of manga about all the fate daydreams I have, and now they've been turned into this collection. I hope you enjoy it, Nakatani. Special thanks, Kinoko Nasu, Takashi Takeuchi, editor Ken Fujiwara, design Win Fanworks, Makoto Yagami, everyone involved in the making of this book." And
So it could have
then
been primarily the artist's
I think
storyboard.
it
Maybe the script could have been done
is.
by Type Moon itself, but the artist like storyboarding this at the least.
I think that's what it is. And then it just lists all of the things that these were originally published in.
Okay.
Yeah, on
Interesting.
the actual copyright page, which includes Fate Grand Order Chaldea Scrap, Fate Grand Order Comic a la carte, Unlimited Blade Works Comic a la carte Infinite Chapter, Chaldea Ace, Type Moon Ace, and Young Ace newsletter. So I think they actually might all be from they it might all be like Nakoto just like think coming up with like little story bits and then probably like double checking and like fleshing them out with like Type Moon and then illustrating them. That seems like what it might be. Kudos to him then because goddamn.
So I think one chapter fucked you up a little bit more than it fucked me up, and that was the chapter with the female master experiencing the dreams of all of the of her servants and seeing their often grisly ends.
Yeah.
So like I because I was pretty negative on that chapter in my initial. I'm more positive on it now in a reread. But like, what were your thoughts on that one in particular? Because I feel like I need to,
Well, that's the one that I flipped the book open and was like, this fucked me up.
yeah.
I think it was interesting. I think it wasn't my favorite, but it wasn't my least favorite. To be honest, I think my least favorite was the Artoria chapter. And not just because it was Artoria, but also because like in this collection of stories, it felt so low stakes comparatively to everything else here. Like everything else here is like an actual like grand, like sad, horrific, emotional story, and that one was kind of just
Remember my horse?
yeah, but like
I do think that one does have some weight to it if you're a fan of the direction Type Moon took Artoria's character.
mhm,
Because Type Moon has always taken Artoria's character in a very you're supposed to feel like this is a person that from the start of their life to the end of their life had a like dramatic like rise and fall of their like their feelings and emotions.
mhm,
So it's supposed to be this you have this character like the innocence of the beginning, asking if the people that experience the end still remember that fucking horse.
Yeah.
So I can see why you didn't necessarily find it that emotional. I just want to go ahead and present, and I don't. It's not the strongest story in my opinion either. My least favorite is probably the like on reread. It's probably the Fate Stay Night tie-in one.
Yeah.
Um, but I think I just wanted to present sort of like the counter to what you're saying there, a little bit of a pushback,
Yeah.
just a little bit.
I think that's fair. I don't feel as strongly towards Artoria, so I and I feel like I haven't really gotten a whole lot of Artoria from the story chapters I've done outside of Lancer, and we didn't see Lancer.
Well,
Um,
Artoria is not going to be focused on an FGO because that's the
yeah.
other issue I guess for you is Artoria is not a character. Artoria is a character that was done in Fate Stay Night, and Nasu has been pretty content to say, "Yeah, we're not going to use her in FGO because we already told her story."
Yeah, and I didn't really like her story in Stay Night. Um, on that note, though, back to the original question you asked me, which was about the one of the Master Seal. Um, I I didn't mind it so much, but I feel like it is one of the few stories in here where I thought that the exposition from young Meloy Juge was necessary for the payoff of that particular story. Like in all the other ones, like I understand the emotions that are coming through without exposition necessary, right? Like I get the whole thing between John Alter and Jean Lilly, you know, like the whole thing between what Iris Veil, Ilias Veil, or whatever, and
Kiritsugu.
yeah, and Kiritsugu and all that stuff. Like that all kind of builds on things that I already know are emotional connections and like things deeply rooted in like trauma and like bad shit happening in their lives. Whereas I think the one of the master having the dreams needed the explanation. And that's maybe its only failing for me is the fact that without the section at the end when talking to El Malloy, it wouldn't have felt as impactful. And it's not a
Fair.
terrible thing for a story to need exposition. Like the stories need exposition all the time, but it did make it stand out from the other chapters. Similarly to how the Artoria one stood out for me as well because I wasn't as emotionally invested in it. Yeah.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that I've said my piece on most of the story. I guess we didn't talk about the Fate Stay Night one, but I mean that one's a little rough because it's so out of the field of FGO. I get it having read Rin's arc and Fate Stay Night, and I'm gonna go on at length in my Fate Stay Night video about Rin's arc across all three routes.
Hmm.
But I feel like if you're especially if you're an FGO player, more so than even I think the Artoria chapter, I feel like that's completely lost for FGO players because Rin is just not a character in FGO. Like, yeah, you
Hmm.
have Ishtar, but they're not the same character.
Yeah, but I didn't mind so much the section on Rin because of Unlimited Blade Works.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know,
It just feels out of place to me, is what I'm saying.
that's fair. That's fair. I think it probably doesn't feel very out of place to me just because I don't really have a sense of what is in place here. Like these are all just short little stories and I'm like they're about characters that are a part of Fate. So, they all feel like they belong here because they're about the subject that I'm expecting them to be about. Yeah. The art's great.
It is pretty good art.
Yeah. It's always nice to have someone beautifully illustrate ripping your heart out in front of you.
I'm not gonna make the lowball comment about Unlimited Blade Works. I'm not gonna make it.
Uh,
All right. Well, I think with that we
also,
probably should.
also, there was
Ooh.
that funny little sound. I will say the funniest thing in this book is female master and Juge getting scolded by Emiya for not pre-soaking their mugs after they had late night trauma dumping. That was the funniest part of the whole volume. But I also did like MASH, like reading Sherlock Holmes and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and stuff. Because I've read a lot of those same works, so it's kind of like that's cool to know that like MASH is also reading these like really good like works of lit like because I recommend 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and Journey to the Center of the Earth to anyone, you know. And I like Sherlock Holmes. He's not my favorite. Obviously, I prefer Agatha Christie's works, but like I like Sherlock Holmes, you know?
Hmm.
So,
I mean, like it's always funny when Mash shows up in anything FGO and you realize she's just a literature nerd.
yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we've talked. It's a series of one shots. So I think we've covered everything we need to cover. So yeah, I guess we'll see you next time. And yeah, yeah. I have no outro,
Yeah,
Seki.
yeah.
I have
Here,
no
I have an
outro.
outro. I have an outro. If the next fate thing you give me places a brick through my emotional stability window, knick-knack, the guy bulg is gonna go through your emotional stability window.
Hang on. What is the next fate thing I'm giving you?
I don't know what the next thing is, but I'm warning you. Don't do this to me again.
Is it another set of one shots? It might be another set of one
I have
shots.
no clue.
Fuck. That actually might. I might be dying. Oh no.
Like, comment, subscribe. Goodbye, everyone.